There we go. So, this is Big B and Shade from TacoYaki Gaming.
Yo! Anime.
TacoYaki Anime. And welcome to our initial thoughts for the fall anime season of 2019.
Indeed. I don't know. General impressions just right off the bat of this season? Good, bad, and different?
Very lackluster, especially following the last season.
I mean, that's a hard thing to do.
Yeah.
I mean, let's be fair about that. That's a hard thing to do.
Yeah.
For me, on its face value, I think that this was a very interesting season. I can foresee some pretty decent titles, and depending upon how far they go with some of these, I can perceive some nice continuations, I think. But we'll see.
So today we have 8 shows to talk about. And the first show we're going to be talking about is Boogie Pop Phantom 2019.
Now, did you watch this one?
I watched the first episode of everything.
Okay. So I only watched the first episode of this one as well. Yeah, this is about as well as I remember Boogie Pop from the original. And I'm not even sure if they're really taking it from the other one or not. Or if it's like a continuation or a reboot. I'm not sure. I just know that it's... From my first impressions of the original, I'm like, yeah, that's about the same feeling I got when I stopped watching the other one. So, I mean, it's not bad, but this is probably about like one of those things that's about as stereotypical when people talk about anime as you could possibly get.
For me, when I think of the old series, the original Boogie Pop, I say I don't think I'm old enough to appreciate this yet. And now that I'm probably double the age, and now the new one came out, I still don't think I'm old enough to appreciate this.
So okay, let's look at some of the positives on this. This show, I feel like, was very like, okay, so storyline wise, there's a lot going on, and they're not hand holding you. They're not saying we're going to take you step by step so you have an awesome idea about what's going on. No, they're just like, we're going to throw you into the deep end and you're going to have to catch up kind of thing.
Yeah, like with a lot of shows or some shows, they're like, we're going to let the audience know everything, and then the audience can be like, ooh, I can't wait till he finds out. And with this show, they're like, no, nobody knows what's going on.
You have no idea. We have no idea. Everyone has no idea. Yeah. It's just, we're just going to have to just deal with it as it goes kind of thing. Yeah. So.
I do like the premise. Like, as far as like dark shows go, like Hell Girl and some of the other ones, some of the other like dark kind of not so flashy shows. I do like this one. I don't know what I need to be able to just be excited for this show and be like, oh my God, I can't wait to what happens next. Because I'm too confused. Like,
yeah, you can't really get a good grasp on it because too much is happening at once, and then it seems like they derail you. Because they're like, they set this whole thing up in the very beginning where you meet Boogie Bop, and she's talking about how there is some monster eating people or girls, and they make this hint about the girls that are disappearing, and everyone thinks they're running away.
Yeah.
and you see bodies of girls, like one was hanging from like wiring of a telephone, like the electrical wiring and everything. I was like, oh my goodness,
Yeah.
that's tense. And then I'm like, all right, it's gonna be good. Yeah. And then she's like, well, it's gone now. And I'm like, what?
What do you mean it's
Where did
gone?
it, yeah, where did it go? Who
did,
did something with it?
did somebody kill it and now we're done, or did it just get bored and move on?
Yeah, so it's like, I don't know. For me to get excited about it, it's gotta pick a point. It's gotta pick a destination and go, this is where we're going. And I'll be like, cool. Now I know what we're working towards. Other than that, I have no idea
Yeah.
whatsoever. So I don't know. I mean, again, the way they set it up in the first episode, I'm gonna give it a couple episodes. But the way they set it up in the first episode, it just is like, I don't know what you want, where you're going, what the plan is. I mean, if the monster's gone, is Boogie Bob ever gonna come back, or are we now just gonna be like in some sort of limbo with that? I'd be like, what the hell?
Yeah,
Tell
because
me what's going on.
they did show a glimpse of like this crazy fight happening.
Yeah,
So I'm like, is that the last episode? I'm like, man.
yeah. So yeah, it's really confusing. But then again, like I said, when we started, I, I think when I first watched Boogie Pop, I felt pretty much the same way. This is really confusing. I have no idea what the hell's going on. Um, but I mean, I'm older, just like you said, and maybe I can appreciate it a little bit more and actually push through that, and hopefully we get some sort of traction going and actually make a good effort. But um, looks are great on this. I think it looks awesome. Um,
Yes.
her transformation and her look as Boogie Bop, and then when you see her as just a schoolgirl, I'm like, yeah, the face is there, but everything else is so much different. You
Yeah.
know? And I like for they have like a split personality, so it's like their way they talk, the way they move, like everything about them is completely different, but it's still cool to see. So,
Did you like any of the characters so far?
um, trying to remember. So the guy character I'm kind of meh with. I
Mm-hmm.
don't think I'm like I don't think I like him, but I don't hate him.
Mm-hmm.
So I think the only reason why I have that I don't like him is because of his reaction to when Boogie Bop said she was going to leave.
Mm-hmm.
I get when you're confused because I'm confused as well as
Mm-hmm.
why all of a sudden you're going to leave. But it seemed like it wasn't just because she was going to leave and you were concerned about whether the monster was still active. You were just, as the character, he was just actually more concerned about her just leaving, period.
Yeah.
Like, why should you care? You haven't built anything up on this.
Mm-hmm.
You've known her for what? Couple of days, maybe?
Mm-hmm.
Week tops. I mean,
Mm-hmm.
they're kind of lucid with the time jumps and everything, so it's kind of hard to really pin that down. But it couldn't have been that long.
Yeah.
Oh, so I kind of looked at him and went, "Your motives in this are seeming sketchy at best. I mean, just what the hell's going on?"
Mm-hmm.
Um, I mean, the girl. I mean, she's an okay character, but you didn't really see much of her, other than her being Boogie Bop.
It was so weird, like seeing her for the first time for me because everybody else was kind of just normal and kind of bland.
Mm-hmm.
And then you see her and she has this weird like cat grin.
Mm-hmm.
She looks like she's about to laugh. She's like, and I'm like, what? Are we gonna turn around and he's gonna have like something weird on his face or something? Or I'm like, why are you about to laugh? And then she's like really monotone. And I'm like, okay. And then like the third day you see her and she's like wearing normal clothes, but then she still has that weird face. And I'm like, could you stop? Because it's really weird. Like, I don't know. Like, I can definitely tell that you're still you,
Yeah.
but I don't know. And
Like
then,
the premise with her character, I really I feel like there's going to be a lot of story with it, and I feel like there's going to be like a really big meaning behind it. But just in general, with how they've presented her and what little character development you've seen in the entire thing, it just feels very lackluster.
Mhm.
So
Even though that face kind of is like, stop. I think I'm gonna laugh when I see that face on somebody else because you'll end up like getting to know some of these other characters and like you'll see their whole full range of expressions. And then one day he's gonna wake up and like meet somebody and they're gonna have that face and you're like, oh god. And it's I don't know. I think it's gonna be interesting.
we'll see. And they don't really explain like is she going to jump to another person? Is she going to remain the same person? Is something going to come up that's going to keep her from leaving? It's like there's a lot of things going on here. I'm not even close to being clued in on.
Yeah, I'm kind of curious. Like I want to know the rules on who like why she chose that one person. Oh, wait, at the end they were talking about somebody, right? Because there was like, because the boogie pop is like an urban legend, so some people kind of know about it, right?
Hmm.
And like because the girls were disappearing, they were like, some didn't didn't somebody walk up there and they thought that somebody was after them, and they kept
Yeah.
and they kept
Yeah.
talking about they kept mentioning one girl's name, and at the very end that girl shows up. And I'm like, oh, you that name? Why am I worried? I don't remember.
Well, they kept thinking that she would like. They kept mentioning somebody being a killer or something like
Yeah,
that. And yeah, they kept mentioning one girl over and over again. And then for some reason, there's a girl in their class who's reading a book about serial killers. And
yeah,
they're
like
like,
the
"Well, you
occult
know
girl.
about serial killers. Who do you think she's a serial killer?" And I'm like, when you're asking the person who's reading a book about serial killers if they think X person is serial killers, I'd be more worried if they were, honestly.
I think that they're going to the person who's the most knowledgeable about the subject. I think she's kind of like the occult girl,
I would
where
be
like,
like, why are you knowledgeable about this
yeah,
subject?
yeah. So I think she's like the occult girl. Like she's always looking up like um conspiracy theories and like ghosts and all that kind of
But
stuff. And
okay,
she's
okay.
currently learning about serial killers.
But if we're going that route, typically speaking, those types of people are usually the loners that nobody talks to anyways, just because they're weird. And yet she seemed like she was like one of those popular girls almost.
Yeah, I think she gets in the category of like the smart girl. They're like, I don't really have anything to relate to you with until I have a question because you're good at explaining things. Now, I think the reason why they like the way she explains things is because she's sloppy with it. They're like, they'd ask her a question, they're like, oh, do you think this person's a killer? And they're like, well, maybe he could be. And then she pauses, and I'm like, no, don't just say, yeah, it might be him. Explain your reasoning why, because you're kind of like half spreading rumors.
Well, see, in that case, that even further makes me want to believe that they're the actual serial killer if that's the case, because they're like throwing him off the guard, being like, "Well, maybe they could be the serial killer." So you're not confirming nor denying it, and because of that, everyone's immediately going to jump to that conclusion, whether it's right or not, and that means you're free to do whatever you want because no one's looking at you; they're looking at this person.
You know what? So at first I was gonna say no, probably. I think she's interested, and people think that she's smart because she's always reading these books, but she's not really smart. She's just interested in the subject, and she's bad at explaining things. But she could be just playing dumb. So that
I
actually could
I I
be
I feel
true.
like that could be the case. I feel like that could be the case. She's
Yeah,
playing dumb.
yeah.
See, because here's the thing.
Well,
All the all
she's
the
playing smart in a dumb way, I guess.
Yeah, because all
It's
the
yeah.
all the ones that have gone disappearing before this have all been females.
Yeah.
And I feel like, yeah, it could be a guy doing it, but I also feel like if you're gonna have a girl who all of a sudden disappears and then is like slaughtered or eaten or something like that, what's the one, a girl in high school is not going to have like not as nearly as much on guard as say if they were with a boy as opposed to if they were with another girl. You know what I mean?
Some of them girls could be very mean.
I agree, but if you're friends with them, because like she seems to be the approachable. She makes herself out to be the approachable type. You can approach me and you can ask me questions.
Oh, definitely.
So if she's that type, then what would it take for her to just be like, "Hey, let's walk home together," or "Hey, do you wanna?" And they'll be like, "Yeah, sure," and then they end up being missing.
Yeah.
And one of the girls in that group had a freaking red flag, put up a freaking death flag when they were talking about it. Because what were they saying? Because they were blaming the Boogie Bop. That's what they were saying. Yeah. Boogie Bop was the one who was doing the killing. But they said they're all girls and they're all the prettiest girls. And, and they get killed before they lose their beauty or whatever. And one of them is like, well, they're not going to go after me. I'm not pretty, And I'm like, God damn it. Freaking throw up the goddamn death flag. Why? Well, they couldn't go after me. And it's like, all right, well, you're next. Sure.
Yeah.
I'm like, come on. Don't do that. So, yeah.
Okay, so a rating. How would you rate the way this show is starting so far?
We doing like a what? 1 out of 10?
I would say the whole ketchup rating. So it's like, need more ketchup? Is it fine? Does it so good that it doesn't need ketchup? And if it does need ketchup, what would be good to change about
it? It needs ketchup.
Okay.
It needs ketchup. Just based upon, and I've only watched the first episode on this. I've only watched the first episode. Just based upon first episode. Normally, I like to be able to at least watch 3 episodes. I didn't have time. But going upon 3 episodes, I'm going to say it needs ketchup just because its story is just all over the place. Give me some consistency. Give me some development and some reasonings. You don't have to spill all the beans, but give me at least something. You're not even giving me anything. Mm-hmm. You've introduced Boogie Bop and you've given her some sort of purpose, but then again, since you've already now X'd her out by saying, oh, the monster's gone, now I'm like, well, then is she going to be there? What's going to happen? And I'm like, come on. I need more sustenance. I need something more with that.
Okay. So yes, I also agree. I think the show definitely needs ketchup. I want to say in episode 2, if they keep me out of the dark, just shine a little bit of light on me. Like, just give me some information. Tie some of the clues. Let us see part of the incident that happens next. Mm-hmm. Or now that girl's been introduced, let's follow her a bit. Like, let's learn more about her. I have too many questions at the end of the first episode, and if they explain all in episode 2, I'm like, don't tell me the whole thing. Don't give it away. Like, leave me in mystery, but not too much mystery. Yeah. And I think it'll be a really good show because I'm intrigued enough to keep going.
Yeah, it's like just don't just like explain nothing. Give me something to work with. People like I think like us who watch these things, especially when they get to like the horror mystery kind of things like that. It's a mystery to a point where you start being able to make hypotheses about who did what, the reasonings behind it, yada yada yada. But if you have literally nothing to go on, you can't even make hypotheses about that.
Yeah.
You could be completely off basis, 100%, and you'd never know. Mm-hmm. So, yeah, no, I agree completely.
Okay. Any cool moments in the first episode? My moment was when I thought Boogie Pop had taken over the body, and the only way she could go somewhere else is by getting rid of the body. So when she's like, yeah, there's no monster here, and then she like started walking towards the end of the roof, I'm like, and then she jumped off. I'm like, nah.
Yeah.
And then she showed up.
That is exactly what I thought too. She's like, well, I have to go now. And I'm like, are you killing the body you're in now? Is that what we have to do here?
Yeah, so I'm like, so are you the monster?
Yeah.
And that's what happened to the other girls. But then she showed up again, all like, hey, boyfriend, blah, blah, blah. And I'm like, oh, that's how you normally act. Okay.
Yeah. I don't know. It struck a chord with me, I think, when Boogie Bop first showed on scene.
Mm-hmm.
And, you know, the guy, which they didn't really give anything else to that, but the guy that had been walking through the crowd.
That's right.
Yeah. And, you know, when she turns to the crowd and pretty much chastises them for not doing anything and for not lifting a finger or helping somebody and just letting him suffer kind of thing. And then later on, when the guy asks about that, she goes, well, what did you tell him? And she goes, just what he needed to hear at that time. And he goes, well, how do you know when you need to help somebody? And she looks at him, and that's what kind of got me. And she looks at him and goes, if someone's crying, isn't that a pretty obvious indicator?
Yeah.
And I'm like, all right, yeah, no, okay. I see. That's where I'm like, I feel like the show is going to take like a moral high ground on certain things like that. And the fact that I'm not seeing anything else after that fact is what made me be like, we're moving in this direction. Nope, now we're not moving in that direction at all. Where we're going? Where's this happening? So it's like I mentally prepared myself for that, and then I got nothing from it. You know, if that's the way they're gonna go, I'm fine with that. I just want to see more of it then.
Okay.
You know. So.
Cool. So yeah, still gonna continue it, but it needs a little bit more. So I'm a.
It needs a lot more.
So I'm gonna continue it. It needs a little bit more for me to get past episode 3-ish, and yeah. So I don't know. I'm kind of intrigued to like go back to the previous one, but I don't think I'm gonna need to.
I feel like that might just deter my opinion, I guess. It's gonna skew my opinion, I think, if I go back to the first one.
Yeah. Okay. Yeah. I'll
I think and surprisingly enough, I know we usually do this where like if they come out with a remake or a new one or something like that of a previously old series, we usually like to watch the first one first and then go to the new one.
Yeah.
I think this almost might be a case of like the reverse is true.
That's why I'm like
watch the new one first and then go back to the old one and see where that kind of lines up, kind of thing.
Yeah. Okay. Yeah, I'll put this higher on my list to finish. So.
Yeah.
All right. The next show we're going to be talking about is Domestic Girlfriend or Domestic Nakanojo.
This was all you on this one.
Yes. So, for this show, we went over the synopsis.
Uh-huh.
And it ruined the first episode. I wish the first episode was more of a surprise. Uh-huh. It was a month or so, and I kind of forgot what was going to happen in the show. I didn't know that it was that show. But when they did the reveal, it...
is this the one where the guy has like two love interests, and then he finds out... Okay, yeah. Okay.
Yeah. So I kind of wish I didn't know because the way the show ends up going is you have the main guy and he has this crush on one of the new teachers. What's the age difference? I don't know, but I think she can drink, and I don't know what the drinking age is in Japan, but let's say it's 21. So I'm like, and then I don't know how long it takes to get through school to become a teacher. So let's say it's 4 years.
Yeah,
So
it's around
let's say
25.
yeah. So let's say she's 25 and he's like 17.
Uh-huh.
That's like an 8-year difference, but it's it's close-ish.
Yeah.
So
I mean that's not. I don't have an issue with that.
yeah. So I'm like, okay, it's close-ish. That's fine for him to crush on her and everything. I'm like, as soon as he turns 18, then you have to worry with the law and all that kind of stuff. But so I'm like, okay. Especially also because it's reversed. The roles are reversed.
Mm-hmm.
If it was a guy and a younger girl, then I'd be more apprehensive. So, because we follow him and see like how he's kind of not really confident in his own body. Like he mentioned once that between middle school and high school, one of his friends had him do a makeover, so he doesn't wear glasses anymore. He's wearing contacts. He got his hair redone and all that kind of stuff. And you can tell that that's true because after school he goes and visits one of his friends, and one of his friends has the stereotypical otaku outfit. He's like a bit overweight. He has the glasses. He has sitting in front of his computer all the time. He just looks like the stereotype. So for him to explain that, you're like, oh, okay. He was the skinny otaku looking kind of character. And after the makeover, now he's like one of the hot guys kind of thing. But you can tell he's awkward and he's not used to like being how he is now. So he has a crush on the teacher. He's had the crush for a year. So, and he hasn't done anything about it. A bunch of people in his class or grade or something like that, they have a group date. You know, with Go-Cons where it's like 4 guys and 4 girls. Yeah. So they have the group date like that, and one of the girls just does not want to be there. You can tell because she's glaring at everybody. She's curious about things, but doesn't want somebody who's experienced to take advantage of her. Because I'm pretty sure if some girl came to a guy and be like, "Hey, you wanna?" and he's like, "Oh yeah." So she wants somebody who's like not used to doing that. So she basically excuses herself to go to the bathroom to kind of just get out of it and just probably leave. And the guy, he needs to refill his drink. So they go and they meet outside, and she talks to him, and then like a little flag raises. She's like, "Oh, how about we get out of here?" So they end up going to her place and sleeping together and all that kind of stuff. And then she's like, "After that, you don't know me. Like, I just wanted to try something, blah, blah, blah." And he's like, "This was my first time. What am I supposed to do? I'm in love with this other girl. And now I've been with this girl, and I don't know. My feelings are all in a blender now." So he's even worse off now, confused. And then he sees the teacher that he has a crush on, and he's like, I feel guilty now. So he kind of tries to talk to her, and she's like giving him the whole advice about, "Oh, you don't like you're a kid, don't worry about that kind of stuff." And it's like, "Do you have a girl that you kind of have a crush on?" Maybe blah, 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 giving her basically ideas on how to confess to her. And he's trying to work up the courage, but because she's a teacher, whenever it gets to like the good part, her phone will ring. And she's like, "Oh, okay, I got to go to the meeting." And then she'll like leave. So it's like all this tension building up, and then he's just completely out of it. So he's going home, meets up with his friend, kind of tells him his day. And then he goes home, and his dad, every time you see his dad, he's on the phone, just in the kitchen by himself. And you don't see the mom. So you're like, "Oh, okay, maybe it's just the dad." And after 2 times seeing the dad, he comes into the guy's room and knocks on the door, and he's like, "Hey, so I have some news. I'm sorry to tell you about this before, but I'm getting remarried." And he's like, "What?" And he's like, "And they're coming over to visit." So he's like, "Okay, when are they coming?" Ding, ding. And he's like, "They're here." So it's like,
way to give your son some heads up notice. I mean, That's kind of an important thing, but sure.
So the new lady walks in, and you're like, oh, okay, she's like kind of pretty for an older woman. That's cool. She seems like they match. So you're like, oh, okay, cool. And then she's like, oh yeah, and my two daughters are here. And then the older daughter walks in, and he's like, oh no. And he starts freaking out. And she's like, oh, it's one of my students. Hey, how are you doing? We're going to be brother and sister now. And I'm like, that sucks. That so sucks. And then the other girl walks in that he just slept with yesterday. And he's like, oh no, this is going to be bad. So I wish that I didn't know that was going to happen. I wish that was like a completely fresh surprise. But
so, okay, I get where you're like, I wish that was a surprise, but I mean, come on, it's a major. It obviously, if it happens within the first episode, it was never like a big reveal moment. It was going to be the major focal plot point, and you potentially would never have watched it had not knowing that in the first place.
Well, me, I thought it was going to be like some kind of romance with a triangle.
Yeah. Well, I mean, it still is.
Yeah. So I would have watched it because of that. And
so you're just saying that like we always complain about how anime like summaries are like super vague or barely say anything, and now you're like, damn it, why weren't you vague and didn't tell me anything?
Yes.
Be more vague.
So yeah, definitely. Definitely. I wish it was more vague, but I would say I'm only one episode in. The characters so far are interesting. It is the kind of stereotype where it's like that whole situation where like the guy likes the girl, she doesn't like she's not really paying attention to him, and then maybe sometimes another girl likes him, but it's slightly different. So I'm like, that's interesting. The other girl, she's like has zero development other than she's like at that age where she wants to experiment with things. So I'm like, okay, whatever. And this show doesn't seem like it's focused on high school drama. Yeah, two of the characters are in high school, but one of them is a teacher. So it's not like the two adorable main characters like, ooh, I don't know what to do. So it seems like it's slightly a bit more mature type of a story. And just that whole, the two people he has feelings for are both his sisters now, and it's awkward. Not like other shows where they're like, I love my brother, I want to kiss my brother kind of shows. This is awkward, very very awkward, and we're not on board with it kind of show. So I do like that. Will I continue this show? 100%. This show does not need any ketchup. It is good the way it is, and I'm kind of curious to see. I'm excited for the next episode because of what the guy was about to do right at the end, and he got caught. So, yeah.
See, I don't know. I think if you have one big surprise like that in like the first episode, whether it was spoiled or not, I have a feeling you're going to have a lot more surprises going down.
Yeah.
It's just going to continue that trend. So I feel like the disappointment you have now is going to get washed away when you continue and all of a sudden more and more things get revealed and you're like, oh my goodness. You know, they've already set it up. They're going to continue with it. It's obvious. So,
yeah.
But, yeah.
Yeah. It's gonna be good. The dad is adorable. Like whenever they were talking about how they met.
Mm-hmm.
He was one of them. He I don't know much of the details, but I know that he saw that she was unhappy, and he was the type of character that he's like, yes, I like you, but I wish for your happiness more than for you to get with me. So like he at one point he like gave her flowers and he's like, I wish you the best, blah 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 blah. And I'm like, you little goober. And like his dad is such like a silly silly guy trying to do his best that I was like, this is probably the most adorable older single father that I've seen in a series. So I'm like really liking all these characters. So yeah, definitely gonna continue.
Fair enough.
All right. The next show we're gonna be talking about is My Roommate is a Cat.
Yes.
Really long name.
So I think when we were discussing this during our initial thoughts on it, I think
oh yeah, we did.
Yeah, we did. I don't think we really knew exactly what to expect. Just because I think this one was very vague on what it was going on. And so I've only watched the first episode on this one. Mm-hmm. And I initially, for the first half, was kind of meh on the whole thing. So the story takes place where this kid, right off the bat, he loses his parents. They die in a car accident. And he's quite young. I'd say probably early teens or maybe even younger than that, kind of around that time frame.
Like and middle school, probably.
Yeah, like right before high school, I'd say, kind of thing going in there. But he kind of grows up where he separates himself. Like, since he loses his parents, he just doesn't want to make those connections anymore. He doesn't want to have those feelings. He pushes everyone away. But as he grows older, you time jump, and he's older, and he still is kind of like that. But at the same time, he's also a brilliant novelist, apparently.
Yeah.
And he has his own publisher, but even like you get that little bits of him from his publisher. His publisher, has the hardest time trying to deal with him in any sort of way. Like, he wants to encourage him to be more outward and do more, but like he gets met with just absolute obstinance every step of the way. Which is kind of cool. I can kind of relate in a lot of ways, but he goes to his parents' grave and he's doing the traditional thing of offering the food, the incense, and all that stuff. And that's when he comes across this cat who starts to eat the food that he was going to use as the offering. But he was just like, well, I guess if I leave it here anyways, you're going to eat it anyway, so I might as well just give it to you. And at that time, he was kind of struggling with his ideas on what he should write next. And then seeing the cat gave him a flash of inspiration. And he's like, yes. And then just on a whim, he ends up taking the cat with him. So you kind of see his story of just like him writing and kind of halfway taking care of the cat. Halfway, because he never had an animal before, doesn't really know what to do. He's just like, well, here's some food, here's some water. I don't know what else to do with you. And then he like cloisters himself off in his own room, just because he's like, I gotta write this. And eventually, in the first episode, so his editor, his publisher, gets a phone call from somebody else, saying he's having a rough time with him, and then gets told, oh, hey, you're just, he gets told an important thing, and he has that flash of, oh my goodness. And then you see him calling up the guy a lot, but he never answers his phone because he's so focused on his writing.
Yeah.
Um, and then the cat's like scratching at his door. So finally he's like, right, what do you want? What? And then because he'd been so focused on his writing, he apparently he'd not eaten and he'd not slept in like 2 days. So he pretty much passes out. And then he wakes up and his editor's there, his publisher's there, and he goes, oh, thank goodness I found you. It seems like you're okay though. And he notices that he had written a whole bunch of like on Notepad, whole bunches of the story, and he didn't remember doing that because all he remembers is passing out. And then all of a sudden he sees that there is cat food on his cheek, and he's like, what the heck did I do? But so that's like the first half, and I was kind of like, okay, because a slice of life once I'm not the greatest with. They got to have something interesting for me to go, okay, I'll watch it. The second half of the episode gave the cat a voice. All of a sudden, you're replaying things that were happening, but now it's from the cat's perspective. And you're seeing what the cat is seeing, his thought processes. I mean, obviously he's not a talking cat, but it's like his mental, going.
Inner dialogue.
Yeah, inner dialogue, there we go.
Like Garfield.
And yeah. And he's like telling him, he's like, he appreciates the guy for giving him food, but then he's like, well, this human's weird. I don't know if I want to be around this human. But then he's like, he feels obligated since he gave him food. He wants to give the guy food in return as a way of saying, okay, now we're even. Now I can walk away. So you see him keep doing that, and then it kind of replays because at one point the guy walks out and steps on some food on the floor, and he's like, what are you doing? He's like, oh, you're trying to do like, because then he's thinking in like author terms, like, oh, you're trying to lay a trap for me. When in reality, what the cat was trying to do was say, here's some of my food as an offering to you, so that way we're even.
Yeah, especially because you're not eating.
Yeah, because you're not eating. So the guy picks up the food and throws it away. And then the cat gets all mad at him. And then he was like, oh, you're trying to poison me, or you're just a trap, or yada, yada, yada. Because it's kind of going along with the story he's creating or whatever. But in reality, the cat's just trying to be nice and give him some food. And then he passes out, and the cat gets all worried. And because apparently when he was, on his own, apparently he had a couple friends. The cat had a couple friends. And he was scrounging for food. But by the time he came back to give his friend some food, his friend had died from starvation, not being able to eat. So then he gets all panicky, seeing that the guy passes out, and is like, oh my goodness. And he tries to push his whole bowl closer to him, being like, here, eat. And then I guess the guy just out of sheer reflex or whatever, had actually started grab the food and started eating the food himself. And so he's eating the cat food, and then wrote like mad on all his papers as well. He was tearing papers like crazy as he was writing on them, and then just passes out again. But then you see the cat curl up next to him and is like, okay. And afterwards he's like, I don't know what was going on, I don't know what happened. And the cat's just like, well, maybe I'll stick around with you for a little while because apparently you need the help, kind of thing. Yeah. And I'm like, okay, that's kind of adorable. That's kind of adorable. And so the dynamic between the two of them and the character development, I think, is really cool. And the being able to have like the inner monologue of the cat at the same time is also really cool. And it's not like the behaviors, it's not like they're changing the behaviors of the animal, of the cat. That's legit probably what a cat would do, kind of thing. You know what I mean? So I'm like, I'm okay with this. This is kind of cool. I'm interested to see where they're going to go with it. They've gotten it to a point where I'm like, all right, you got a good premise going on here. I'm not sure what you're going to do with it, but obviously you have an idea about what you're going to do with it. So now I'm just interested to see how this is going to progress. So.
Okay. For me, kind of like how you felt in the first half, that just carried on through the whole thing for me. The cat is cute.
Yeah.
And having the inner monologue is cool because at the first half I was just like him. I'm like, what is this cat doing putting food everywhere? And I'm pretty sure just like him, not noticing how much time has passed, the audience was like that in the first half because we would jump to just one point to another. And we're like, oh, this must be the same day when probably 3 days have passed. So I get, I do like seeing like another perspective and seeing like, yeah, he's been in that room for 2 days. I'm like, if Ray Ray just went in the room for 2 days, I'd be like, nah, it wouldn't even be one day. It wouldn't even be half a day. I'd be like, yeah, right in here. Like, I do think that's cool to see the animal kind of like looking after him.
And then it makes sense like later on when he's like scratching madly at the door, and you're like, oh, that's the reason why he is scratching madly at the door, because he's concerned, because he's like, wait, you've been in here for far too long.
Yeah.
You haven't been doing things you should be doing. No, this is wrong. This is wrong. No, get out. So
yeah, I totally get that. I like all those aspects. For the overall story, I need something else. Maybe more characters. Because we did end up getting that one guy, one of the neighbors that like came in and started eating food out of his fridge. And I'm pretty sure the reason why he's always coming in, now that I'm starting to think about it, I think the reason why that guy always like comes into his house is like starts eating his food. Is one, because he's checking to see if the guy has food. And two, probably seeing if the guy's eating.
Yeah.
So I'm like, okay, now I understand. At first I was like, dude, get out of here. So, but that was because I only knew the author's perspective. Yeah. So the more I think about the show, the more I like it. But for right now in this season, I think I'm gonna pass because it needs a little bit more excitement, a little bit more, kind of like how Slice of Life is for you, where you're like, it's just life. You need something different, and like I see how the perspective of the cat that's with him is interesting, especially because you have cats, and especially because it's a cute cat. So I'm like, so I get why you like that. For me, I don't know. I don't know what it's missing, but for me, it needs a little bit more ketchup.
No, I can get that. And I think that's it. Honestly, it's probably just because of the fact that I have cats and I enjoy them. Is that the reason why this kind of hits closer for me, and then I can actually appreciate it more? Because I see the same behaviors, so it's kind of like one of those things that you just kind of latch onto, and you're like, oh, there's the connection for me. There's the reason why, not necessarily that I can actually like it, but the reason I can relate to it, and then be like, oh, that's exactly why that's happening. That's exactly why. Oh yeah, absolutely. And the fact that he actually gave the cat an actual internal dialogue is what really, for me, set it apart and made me go, because you're not, it's not like Natsume where the cat is actually like some sort of spirit and can talk.
Yeah.
It's just like, no, he's not talking. He's just, that's literally what the cat's thinking at that time. And you're just being privy to that.
Yeah.
So.
Out of all the characters so far, which one do you like?
The cat. The cat.
Okay. Yeah, I'd say it's the cat too for me. I kind of want to know more about the neighbor.
Yeah.
Oh, awesome. Oh yeah.
You can definitely see where like people care about him, even though he's kind of standoffish. but they allow him to have his space because they know the reason why he's standoffish and how that came about. So obviously he has a lot of caring and people around him, but the fact that the cat never knew him, but it's just that sort of nature where they're like, I have this feeling that I want to help you and protect you kind of thing. I'm like, that's what really sets it apart for me kind of thing.
Okay. The editor is an interesting character. At first, I did not like him, but I warmed up to him afterwards. The reason why I didn't like him, why I thought he was annoying, is just like the author did. And it's so weird that I'm like, the first half of the show, I'm like on board, I'm like with the author, and I'm like, everybody's annoying. And then the second half, I'm like, oh no, you're the weird one. everybody else is trying to help you. So when they went to the restaurant, and he was like, yeah, this is a nice trendy restaurant, and like a lot of people here, and he's like, you can try to get some ideas or whatever. And he's like, I don't like crowds. I don't like being here. It's kind of uncomfortable. Are we done here? Can I go? And he leaves. And I'm like, well, why didn't you like, is he your new client? I'm like, did anybody like give background information on him? I'm like, do you know that he's not really comfortable around crowds? I'm like how much, like, did you read his profile and like just ignore it and like just be like, hey, everybody likes crowded restaurants. Come on. So I was like, I don't really like that. But then after he passes out and the editor was there and he's like, you haven't been answering my phone calls. I haven't heard from you. I came to your house and you were passed out on the ground. Thank God I actually came. And he's like, don't worry about the door. I already have somebody coming to fix it. And he's like taking really good care of the guy.
Yeah.
And then the package that he sent with all like the things about cats, I'm like, oh, so he's paying attention that the guy now has a cat. He's giving the guy like resource material,
advice and everything, and being like, hey,
yeah. And even though the guy was like, please don't interrupt my creative process. I like to find things out myself. Later on, he looked in the book and got an idea from it. So I'm like, this editor's a good guy. I'm okay with him now.
See, I think part of that though is also because he actually because the fact that somebody made the comment to him after he got done talking to him on the phone of saying, oh, you're with so and so, oh, that's going to be rough. And he's just kind of looking at it going, yeah, kind of. I'm like, I feel like they did give him some information about him, but I don't think they gave him all the information about the author that he's with. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
You know, so I think that's kind of the reason why he's like, well, maybe I can help this guy out by taking him to a crowded restaurant and being like, well, this is a hip, trendy place. Maybe you can actually talk with people. Because maybe what the information he got from originally was, well, he's kind of a loner. He doesn't really talk with a lot of people, kind of keeps to himself. And he's like, well, I can fix that. Let me introduce him to some places and some people and see how that works. And then he gets that, reaction from the diner. He's like, well, that didn't work. Oops. So, yeah. I feel like I want to give it a couple more episodes just to see where it goes. And if I get kind of the idea on where it is going, I'm probably cool with it. Because I almost feel like we're going to get to a point where it's going to be like that one anime with the calligraphy.
Oh, Bakuman.
Yeah, I think so. Yeah. But yeah, I feel like that's going to be kind of where that's at. We're going to see him as an author grow and progress. And that's where the main focus is going to be, I feel like. It's going to be the character development with him.
And then all the neighbors' kids are going to show up because he has a cat now.
Probably. So, yeah. Either way, yeah. I know you probably were feeling like it needs more catch-up. I think it's good the way it is, but I feel like I do need at least to see another episode or two just to see what direction it's heading in.
Okay.
Everything else beyond that is great. Characters are great. Storyline insofar, I'm okay with. And the look and everything, I mean, it's not detailed at all, but I feel like in a storyline like this, you don't really need nor want like a detailed quality look of things because it's a slice of life.
Yeah.
You know, it's not some sort of fantasy action sequence where you have to see some cool effects and stuff that you never knew about. It's like, no, this is just a day in the life of so and so kind of thing.
Mm-hmm.
So,
Cool. All right. The next show we're going to be talking about is Egao no Daika, or The Price of Smiles. I think is what it's the English name.
The Price of Smiles.
Yes. At first I thought it said Prince of Smiles.
Oh, that one.
And there's a princess and then her guard. So I was like, oh, okay, Prince, that makes sense. And after watching it, I went and looked back at it, and I'm like, no, it's the price. And I'm like, oh, that makes sense. That makes sense because of how the show went. So,
I think you were primarily interested in this one originally because of just the way it looked.
Yes, this show looks incredible. It reminds me slightly of Eureka 7, of like Bones quality animation, like nice crisp lines and very good color. This show, I've only seen one episode of it, and it intrigued me. It intrigued me a lot. So, the way the story is set up so far is, there is, I don't think they're on Earth. I think they used to be on Earth, and now they're on another planet. And it's a monarchy. So there's like king, queen, princess, and stuff like that. The king and queen died because of something that I can't remember. And the princess,
They just died. Don't worry about
yeah, there was something that happened that like they either sacrificed themselves or something. I can't remember.
It's not important.
So the princess turns 12 in the first episode, and they go through this huge ceremony, which looked like a concert. And I thought she was gonna start singing an idol song, but she just, because like everybody's getting her ready, making sure like her outfit's okay, and then it like pans to the crowd, and like everybody in the crowd is holding glow sticks. And they're like, yeah. So I'm like, I've seen that in idol performances. Like, so I'll be like, da 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 da, yeah, da 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 da, yeah. And I'm like, is this like an idol society where like the princess is an idol? I was like, this is different. But yeah, she goes up on stage and she trips, does a forward roll, and stands up like a gymnast. And everybody like pauses. They're like, whoa, yeah! And she's like super embarrassed. And then like her aide comes up and starts like fixing her up. And she's like, okay, you can do this. And then she gives out not a performance. She gives her speech and says that she plans to do her best and all that kind of stuff. And everybody's like, yeah! And I'm like, why does everybody have glow sticks? I don't understand.
Can we not have glow sticks if this is an idol concert? I mean, come on. It's not exclusive to it. I mean,
it was just it's weird. So then, yeah, her speech is over, and she goes to, I guess, the place where she hangs out all the time. I don't think it was a room. And her aide, who used to take care of everything, passes everything on to her. And she's like, now that you're 12, you have all of these responsibilities. Here's a tablet with 800 tasks for you to do today. I will see you at I will see you at lunch. And then she walks off, and the girl's like, what? So they jump cut to later on, and there was something else that she needs to do, and she needs to meet some of the neighboring kingdoms or some of the villages. They aren't at like, cause like with some kingdoms, there's like everybody who lives in the main kingdom, and then the kingdom still rules the land around it, but there may be like other villages in the area. I don't know how the kingdom is set up, but people who were somewhere met with her, and then they went back to where they were. So
that makes sense. Yeah.
Yeah, she was being introduced to like these important to some of the other people, and one person was kind of like they disapproved of her being in charge. So she like the princess could tell that the girl didn't like her. So after they finished talking and like giving their introduction, she like jumped down from her seat and like walked up to the girl. She's like, "Oh, how do you like? Nice to meet you. Like, I'm so like introducing herself like she's not the princess. Like the girl doesn't already know her name." And then she's like, like kind of like, let's be friends. Let's work. Like, let's be together. I see that you're in a bad mood, but like, what can I do to help? And it kind of like shocked the girl that was upset. So she's like, "Oh, I'm sorry," and like she was embarrassed because she got the princess to leave her throne when she's supposed to just stay there. So now she's like, "Oh God, I'm causing trouble." So she's like, "No, I'm sorry," and like apologize and all that kind of stuff. And the meeting commenced, and then they were getting prepared to do something. The princess, or her bodyguard friend, who's been like their like childhood friend, but now he's like her knight. He didn't like that group that she had met, and I think because they always talk about him how he's not a good soldier because he spends all of his time next to the princess instead of actually like fighting. So he's a hothead because
of course
he wants to fight but he can't, but then he wants to protect the princess too, so he has to stay by her side, and he hates that everybody's like talking about him all the time. So he goes to they have these like simulation robots or whatever, simulation systems that for their robots that they use to fight, and he challenges those other guards to a duel, and I think it's stupid, and I think that the other guys that are making fun of him are right. He's not as strong as them because he's always next to the princess. So what happened is he challenged them, and they're like, okay, and they get into this weird arbitrary battle where you have two sides, and like there's two flags, and you fight is two main robots controlled by the actual players, and like CPU drone robots on each team. So and he challenged both of the other guards. So it's like him versus the two guards. So I'm like, of course he's gonna lose. But as he's trying to like be sneaky and do like kind of underhanded tricks, they catch on to him. And it's not like underhanded as in like, oh, I'm gonna sabotage something. It's underhanded as in, ready, fight, and he like blows a hole in the ground and like goes into the sewer to try to like sneak around them instead of like fighting them directly. So they catch on because they're like waiting for him to like come around a certain thing and he's not showing up, and they see like weird things happening and like the drones are going in different places. So they're like, oh, why is he underground? So they go down there and start to attack him and everything, and they catch him right away. So now he's stuck and he's gonna lose. But then the princess is watching the whole thing, and she's like, "No, is there anything that I can do to help me?" I'm like, "No, that's called cheating." He challenged both of them. Let him lose so he can quit being such a problem. So then her aide is like, sure, go ahead. And then instead, I thought she was gonna like jump in and start piloting, but no, she like gets on the comms and like starts telling him where the other guys are. So he's like, oh, and he like sneaks around them, knocks over a bunch of buildings and everything, and like leaps into the air eventually and grabs the thing, and he wins. And I'm like, I don't like you.
Oh my goodness.
So
cheats.
Exactly. So yeah, so I was like, okay, well that's not cool, but oh well. So then they go back to heading to where they were going before they got challenged. And they go to this meeting, and what ends up happening is that her bodyguard, for some reason, also has to go to that meeting. So they all leave the princess behind, and the episode's about to end, and they're like, well, it's kind of like, as long as she's happy, blah, 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 blah. And then they like turn towards this screen, and right on the outskirts of the kingdom or village or whatever, there's this gigantic battle going on. And I'm like, wait, what?
We just had this mock battle with this young punk and these other two guys. But meanwhile, the big battle that everyone should be worried about, that's off to the side. We're not gonna look at that.
Yeah, so I'm like, what? How come the princess doesn't know? Are they keeping that from her? Are they keeping that from everybody in the kingdom? There's this giant group of soldiers that their whole job is to make sure the fight doesn't enter the kingdom at all? Is that the price of smiles? Now I understand the title.
Price of smiles is a lie.
Yeah. So in order to keep this kingdom happy and peaceful, there's tons and tons of people sacrificing. Kind of like how all countries run.
Mm-hmm.
So I was like, okay.
Well, except it kind of doesn't make sense, because if that's the case, if they're drawing a parallel to that, the reason why that doesn't work in this day and age is because we have information.
Yeah.
And it's readily available. Now, if this is a futuristic society and another alternate dimension or something like that, I don't see why they wouldn't know.
I think it would be like set up in a way that the country is just blocking information from the citizens to keep everybody happy.
Mm-hmm. I get that, but it seems like I just don't see like that would work. There would be some way. There would be some information that would leak out somehow.
Yeah, in the real world, information will definitely get crossed.
Mm-hmm.
And because this anime is set up to where the princess is nice and happy and she doesn't know about the bad stuff, she's gonna find out.
She's gonna find out.
Yeah. So I'm like, all right, I'm interested.
You realize that's probably the reason why that one person was unhappy? They know, and they don't like the princess because she's living in blissful ignorance.
Yeah. Yeah, I think that's it too. And I think part of the reason why her knight was a hothead is because he wants to fight, but he's kind of shackled to the princess.
Mm-hmm.
So it's cool. Like, I love this story so far. I know bad stuff's gonna happen, and I hope nothing happens to the princess, but I want to see how it's gonna play out.
Somehow I don't think anything's gonna happen to the princess. It's gonna happen to her knight.
Oh no!
I can see it's gonna happen to her knight. I may be completely off base because I haven't even seen the episode yet, but I feel like this is gonna be a Joan of Arc kind of thing, where her knight's gonna do something, sacrifice himself in order to protect her, and she's going to see the ugly truth behind everything that she's been lied to about, and then she's going to rally the troops and pretty much spearhead the entire thing.
Okay.
That's my prediction.
Sounds about right.
That's my prediction. So.
So, out of the characters, who do I like the best? I would say
the young knight. Nailed it.
I kind of want to say the girl that was grumpy and like the princess had to talk to her. Because I'm pretty sure she's like a good fighter, and I think she was one of the people that was in the mock battle and like immediately caught the knight. So I think I like her. The aide is too boring. I'm like, yeah, she's knowledgeable. She can like she's basically running the country until the princess was old enough, and that's cool. But I think she's like bitter. She's like, oh God, finally you do all this. So yeah. I'm 100% gonna keep watching this one. It's for me, it does not need ketchup. I love the prediction that you have because it's similar to what I was thinking, and animation is gorgeous. So far, it's the best looking show of the season to me, and I can't wait to see more. All right, next show we're going to be talking about is The Magnificent Kotobuki, or Koya no Kotobuki Hikotai.
This is another one for you.
Yeah. So, I don't like this show.
I was about to say, before you even said that, I'm like, I'm sensing some negativity in this. Just a little.
So, this show is trying to trick you. They're like, look at these well-designed characters right here. Don't look in the background. Ignore the maid. Ignore the waitress that's like walking weird. Look at this nice food. Ignore that noise in the back. No. Don't cut to that table of main characters that are all CG. Oh, God, now you've done it. Why was that?
What you're saying is I would absolutely love this show. That's what you're telling me, right?
You would be annoyed. Like, you wouldn't like immediately just dislike this show because, oh, CG, I'm out. You would be like, was that CG? Because right now it's 2D. That's definitely CG. And now we're back to 2D. This is 2D, two characters. One of the characters is CG, and one of them's 2D. Would y'all make up your mind? Why?
Good Lord.
Why are some characters CG and some characters 2D? All the planes are CG. And you never see the planes that the 2D characters are flying. You just see them in the cockpit.
Oh, jeez.
And all of the backgrounds are 2D. I don't know what.
Oh, wow. Who was this done by?
Genma? Some new studio that I've never heard of.
Oh, okay. Maybe that's the reason why. Maybe they just didn't have enough funds to be able to make it all 2D.
Yeah, it's weird. So I'm like, why would you do half the scene 2D and half of the scene 3D? Like, you're purposely like compositing those two together.
Mm-hmm.
I don't know. It's confusing.
I mean, that's usually the reason why studios don't do 3D to begin with, is because they just don't have the funds for that project to be able to completely do it 2D. At least that's what I found. Because
Yeah.
either they're going to do it, if they do 3D, they're either going to do it completely 3D, or they're only going to do 3D when they have to.
Yeah, they'll pick a category.
Mm-hmm.
They're like, all vehicles 3D, everything else 2D.
Mm-hmm.
Or like, all characters and vehicles 3D, and we'll just paint the backgrounds. This show is like, all the planes are 3D, and these 10 characters will be 3D, and everything else, all the other characters will be 2D, and everything else will be 2D. And if they just happen to be on the same screen, y'all are just gonna have to work together.
Oh, jeez.
It's such a weird mix.
Mm-hmm.
So, how many episodes have I watched so far? I watched one episode, and I don't know what it was about.
Girls flying planes. I mean,
Yeah.
I guess that's about as much as you can go.
That's basically all I got from it. Do I like the characters so far? No. They are weird tropes that I don't know what the trope is. And I think
that's kind of sad, considering how much knowledge you have based upon that.
Yeah.
And if you have tropes that you don't even know what the tropes are.
It's like the picture of the girl at the bottom with like she looks like somebody laid a pillow on top of her
head. I can see that.
She is like the quiet silver-haired one, but she's not deadpan serious. She's not deadpan serious, but she has like bits of like excitement to her. So I'm like, okay, you don't fit into that trope, but I don't know
where you fit in.
Yeah. I think the girl in the middle, next to the plane but under the blonde girl, she's like the hard-headed girl that doesn't listen. She's like the wild.
I got this.
Yes.
You don't know me.
The captain's like, hey, let's retreat. And she's like, oh, let me get this one last guy, and fights for like 25% of the episode and almost dies. She like almost dies and then finally pulls back in. And the leader's like, I said to retreat. Why didn't you retreat? And she's like, I got him though. And I'm like, come on. And everybody else, I don't know. They're based like you can swap them around, and I couldn't tell the difference. Like they don't have any personality, and I think that's because it's CG. Like there's no exaggeration, no like they might move fast.
That's why I don't like CG. That's why I don't like CG. Especially when you have it with the people themselves. There's no facial expressions. There's no animation. You're pretty much just flat-faced monotone.
So, with that, it is getting better. It isn't anywhere near where it needs to be. But it is getting better because, like, the eyes will have decent expressions.
Mm-hmm.
The movement is not there, but, like, we're like, yeah, that's definitely a smile. Yeah, they're definitely angry. Like, it looks crisp, and you can tell what's happening, but it's not nearly expressive enough. Like when one character, like the CG character was talking to the 2D character, and the 2D character was like, no, that was that. Like he was just pissed off. And the other girl was like, hey, no, that, yeah, that. And I'm like, almost. I'm like, almost. I can tell you're frustrated too, but he's way more mad. You see the wrinkles in his forehead?
See, okay, that to me, and I've actually been meeting and talking with a lot of people who are voice actors, and I believe it's getting better. But that to me is like the difference between subtitled and dub. You know what I mean? The difference that you're saying right there, it's like, yeah, you're both angry, but because of the inflection in his voice, even though I don't know what he's exactly the words he's saying, I can tell he's more pissed off than you are.
Yeah.
Because you're just the words. There's no emotion there. There are the emotions there. I don't know what the words are, but I can read them, and then I can transfer that, and I know exactly what's going on.
Yeah.
You know, that to me is that way.
Yeah.
Now, I mean, it could be getting better. I have met quite a few of them, and I think they can do a lot better job on it and everything. But I still have that issue, and that's the exact reason I have the issues with CG. It's too phony. It's too fake for me. There's just not enough, you know. It kills me sometimes. So yeah, no, I'll definitely give this one a pass. I have no problems with that whatsoever.
Yeah. I would say for the story, I know that everybody was kind of off duty at the bar, and the girls and the guys got into an argument, and then something happened, and then they were like, "Oh, we got to fight," and then they jumped in the planes. The planes look pretty good. Like, they're very detailed. And I'm like, how come y'all didn't put the detail on the characters? So I'm like, yeah, those planes.
You can put detail into inanimate objects and in CG, or you can put detail into objects that would not exist, or like characters that would not exist in our life, or like in our real world right now, and you can make it seem pretty believable. But when you're trying to put CG into an everyday common thing or into just a regular person, it makes it seem so weird.
Yeah, because you can hit that uncanny valley.
Yeah.
Like, they weren't even on the ridge of the valley. They were like, they were just chilling.
But see, that's the thing. It's like, I bet you somebody who deals directly with planes would probably look at that and be like, "Oh, come on, really? That's just, come on." You know what I mean? They look at it going, "That's not even." That you kind of have the correct. It doesn't seem that way, though. You know. But like for us, just because we're talking, we're seeing people, we know their inflections, we know what they look like, we know how they respond, we know the movements. When you have something that's CG in that regard, you look at it and you're just like, come on. You're like an alien who's trying to mimic being human.
Yeah.
You have the idea in your head, but the execution, you still need some work on.
So, yeah, like they went into the dogfight, and the planes looked good, and then I couldn't tell who was who. I couldn't tell who was shooting at who, and I was very, very bored because every shot was just like, da, 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 da. Da, 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 da. I'm like,
where's the conflict? Where's the
I'm like,
okay. Storyline wise, to me, then what they should have done is before they even, it should have been like probably 3 or 4 episodes before they even went into the plane, because you feel nothing for these characters.
no.
They could die and it wouldn't even register, right?
Yeah.
See, that tells me it's like you're putting them in a dangerous situation, but your audience feels nothing for them.
Yeah, it was missing 2 things. It was missing that, character development, so that I could be like, oh, that character that likes strawberries and is crazy about strawberries. I hope she doesn't die because she has plans. I still couldn't tell who was in the plane.
Now, is that just because of how they portrayed it, or was it just going too fast?
Oh, it was definitely cinematography. Like,
okay.
That 98% of the way through the fight, then they finally started doing, like, when that one girl like disobeyed orders and like tried to take out like the last couple guys by herself. Then you could tell because she was desperate and she was in the thing. Like, it was a shot from the cockpit. And she's all like, no. And like the plane's like, yeah. And behind her, the thing's shooting at her. And like she would get hit and it's like, she's like, no. And it's like, yeah. Like you could, like all the shots were dynamic. And I could tell who was controlling the plane. I don't care who's shooting at her. Somebody's shooting at her, and I care about her. So those types of shots are what the entire battle needed. And they didn't show that until like the very end of the battle.
See, that's what I'm saying. I think they went about this the wrong way. It sounds like they went about it the wrong way.
Yeah, they just need a better like plane fight director. Because I'm like, if the first episode is supposed to hook you in, so they did like all the cool stuff in the first episode, I'm like, what is episode 2 fights gonna look like?
See, that's why there's okay, so that's what I said. Just like the story itself, there's no character development, there's no reasoning behind what it is that they're doing. They're just doing it. And you're not invested in any sort of way, shape, or form. So you're kind of just looking at it, just shrugging your shoulders, being like, sure, someone's potentially going to die. I don't know why or who or what we're doing, but I guess, yeah.
It's like I would see a plane blow up, and I'm like, oh, is that the bad guy or the good guy? Okay.
Who died? They died. Oh, no, they're fine. Oh, they died. Oh, wait, no, they're fine. Wait, who are we? Wouldn't it be a mind blow if like the other guys were actually the good guys and the people you're following are the bad guys? Because they gave you no context. They gave you.
I would have been. Why didn't you tell me?
But they give you no context, so it could literally be that, and you'd never know.
Nope.
So
yeah. They need better like fight choreography. They need way more dynamic shots, more of the shots of you're in the cockpit and you can see out of it behind them, you can see the person shooting.
Mm-hmm.
They're like, oh, I know what to do, don't tell me, and then just do it. Or if you're outside of the plane, like, let me see some red hair flapping the cockpit window or something. I'm like, oh, that's either so-and-so or so-and-so. Like, with all of those CG shots.
Or just give, like, maybe some sort of customization on the planes. So that way you have a better idea about who's, give them some personality. Somebody likes strawberries, then put maybe some strawberries on, like, part of the plane or something.
Yes.
But see, since they give no character development, you have no idea who would like what, so they wouldn't have any way of being able to say what would be on somebody's plane.
Yeah, and one of them's a mechanic, and I'm like, you could have told me that she was in the plane too, and I'm like, okay, I don't know. I don't know. Out of these girls, I know one of them's a mechanic. I don't know if one of them's the commander. She wasn't in the plane. You could tell me that one person flew all 20 of those planes, and I would be like, okay. It's so the reason why I brought this one up is because
we need to take a stand on this sort of thing, and we need to somebody needs to put their foot down and be like, no, this is not how you do these things. Stop it.
It needed more dynamic shots. Also, you know what? They may have explained a lot of what was going on while they were like eating at the bar before they got into like the argument and stuff like that. I was not listening at all. Because I'm like, why are the guys 3D? And why are the bartender and the server and the girls 2D? I'm like, am I seeing things wrong? I'm like, wait, okay. She's definitely CG. Either he's 2D or he's really, really good CG.
Wouldn't that be sad? Wouldn't that be sad if the fact that it was like, no, they're all CG. He's just done really well. We just didn't have the budget to do the CG good on the other one.
I was like, wait a minute. You're like, no, this is a fully CG anime. I'm like, who was your team? Did you have like some good animators and then you got like your brothers and sisters and wives to help? Because I'm like, y'all need to just push this back some and like.
It should be next season. Work on it more, please.
Yeah, because it was so weird.
Oh, jeez.
So yeah, I don't know anything about the characters because that first 5-minute scene, I was so confused. I'm like, I don't know who started this fight, but both of y'all are on the screen, and I don't understand why there's 2G and CG, 2D and 3D. I didn't get absorbed into the story at all. Like, man, this plane looks good. How come they didn't put some of that budget onto the characters? Okay.
The director was just like, all right, this is how much we got. We'll make the planes look amazing. We'll make as many of the characters as we can look amazing. The rest of it, just do whatever you can. Oh, jeez.
Yeah. So, it's all over the place. I don't know. This was the first time that I've been like perplexed by a show like this.
Mm-hmm.
Like so confused that I'm not even like paying attention to what they were saying, and like don't care enough to be like, I actually should rewind this and read. But it was such a weird show for me. But yeah, all I want to say about that one. The next show we're going to be talking about is yes, the Rise of the Shield Hero. Okay. Before you do that, I thought that something was wrong with my light.
What's wrong with your light?
The battery slowly died from the beginning of the show till now. And I was like, is it getting dimmer? And I turned it all the way, and I'm like, it is getting dimmer. And I'm like, huh. And then it just like, boop. So, I'll be right back. I gotta grab like 8 batteries or something. Ugh. Ow!
Meanwhile, why you gotta do that? Stop doing that. Stop doing that. Stop. Stop it. Just stop it. Hey, now you're moving my mouse. I don't appreciate that. I don't appreciate that. I moved it away from you so you wouldn't do that. Don't give me that look. Don't give me that look.
Bump this off. All right, so Rising of the Shield Hero.
Yes. Have you watched this one?
No.
Okay, so this one is actually fairly interesting.
Ah! Jesus Christ!
Blinded by the light.
Turn it off first. Go ahead.
So the premise of this story is that in an alternate reality or whatever, there is what they call chaos waves, basically, in which during a certain time frame, these waves of monsters come out of nowhere, and they will start to basically decimate wherever they end up landing or being, and until they can pretty much all the monsters can be killed. The kingdom, this land that they're in, decided that at first they're like, you know what, we can handle this. We can do this ourselves. We can repel the monsters. We'll handle this, no problem. So the first wave came, and they couldn't handle it. They couldn't handle it. It was too much. Well, because here's the thing: the land itself is pretty big and vast, and you don't know where the wave's going to strike. So you know when it's going to happen, you just don't know where.
So when you say waves, you're talking about like a bunch of enemies at a time, or like an actual like.
Basically, what happens is the sky turns dark red, and these portals basically open up in a specific area, and just huge amounts of monsters just come down.
Okay, so both.
Yeah. Yeah, I can't necessarily say waves as in like water terms. It's just like this wave of energy comes out of nowhere and in a surrounding area and just then opens up with just mass amounts of monsters.
Okay, cool.
But yeah, they couldn't handle it. So the legend goes is that you can summon 4 heroes from another plane of existence, basically, and each one of these heroes will be given a legendary item to use, and they can actually repel these things. And what happens is that when the wave hits, hey, you get over there. Or no? Okay. When the wave hits, the legendary heroes will be summoned to exactly where it's supposed to be.
Okay.
So they kind of have that advantage where it's like, all right, we already know where it's going to happen. We're good, yada, yada, yada. So you're following this one guy. Each of the legendary heroes, one has a spear, one has a bow, one has a sword, and one has a shield. Your person that you're following through the story is the one who has the shield. Okay. Now, the other guys, they're from Japan as well, but they're from alternate Japans. Alternate timelines, alternate worlds. Because they figure that out pretty quickly. They're like, wait, who's on the 1,000 yen? And each one of them had a different answer. And they're like, oh, who won World War II? And each one of them had a different answer. So they realize they're from their alternate realities, but they're all still from Japan. Mm-hmm. The thing about it is that out of all of them, all 3 of them have experience in like fantasy video games. So they kind of have an idea of kind of what's going on. They kind of roll with it. The guy who has the shield is the only one who's completely clueless.
Because he's Captain America.
He kind of. He basically opened a book in a library and started reading about this legend of these 4 heroes, and that's when he gets transported.
Oh.
So that's all he knows. The other guys are like, well, I've had experience with like MMOs, and I know you're like, oh, you got to level up, and they have that knowledge, and they're able to just roll with it. He is completely clueless. He has no idea what he's doing. He's just there.
So did the other guys get pulled into books in their alternate?
They don't explain that. They just know that they just showed up, kind of thing. Each one of them showed up at the same time. So what happens though is that so he has the shield. And he ends up finding out pretty quickly he's kind of the quote-unquote bottom end of the tier just because out of the 4, because he has no attack. He's all about defense. So he tries to pick up a sword, and immediately there's like a jolt of electricity and he drops the sword. He cannot wield an offensive weapon. And he's all about the defense.
He can't throw it like Captain America?
Nope. It's attached to his arm, and it will not let go. So originally, everyone says, okay, every single one of them were level 1. They actually had a little like icon that would appear, and they could see like experience and party, kind of like a game, but they're the only ones who can see it. And they're like, okay, we're level 1. We need to train. So at first they're like, oh, we'll just all go together and do a quest. And they're like, no, If you're training, it has to be separate. Apparently, there's some sort of bylaw where if they try to train when they're too close together with each other, it cancels it out. So it's like you each have to go on your separate quests in order to actually gain enough experience to be ready for when the wave appears.
This is the worst MMO ever.
So that's the premise. So like originally they're like, okay, we just need to all he's like the king's like, you know what? I'm gonna give you some people. Each one of you are gonna have a party, and then you're gonna go out and do what you need to do. So he thought, oh, we're just each gonna get assigned people. No, they had a whole bunch of people lined up when the next day when they come in to go start doing their quests, and they're like, all right, choose who you want to go with. So next thing you know, he's that shy. I'm not gonna be forceful kind of person. And then he closes his eyes, opens them up, and he's got nobody. Nobody wants to party with him.
Because he can't even throw his shield.
So, well, it's not just that. It's that I guess the rumor started spreading around that he knows nothing about the world or can't really. He's not accustomed to this world.
And nobody's been like, I'll teach him.
Yeah, nobody.
God.
Nobody. But then what ends up happening is that one of the female warriors from the guy who has the spear, she goes, you know what? I'll go with him. I'll help him out. That's fine. So he starts doing this questing thing. Now, there's little subtle hints so that something's not quite right, but it's very subtle. And then at one point, he gets a room, and he goes to sleep, and then all of a sudden, like knights just swarm the inn, and they come for him, and he's like, I have no idea what's going on. What's happening? So they take him in front of the king, and the girl that he was with is standing next to the guy with the spear, and where the king's at, bawling, just crying her eyes out. And then she basically accuses him of attempting to rape her. And he just absolutely loses it. But he can't refute it. Nobody believes him. So now all of a sudden this stigma is now upon him where nobody wants to have anything to do with him. Because now he's being accused of being a rapist. Yeah. And he's like, you know what? Screw all of you. I will do this myself. I will take care of things myself. And at first, when he was started off, he was a good guy. But now that he has this stigma about him, he's like, you know what? Screw it. I'm going to roll with it. And he becomes, you see his emotions just, he becomes cold-hearted, emotionless, doesn't give a damn, and he's all about trying to do whatever he can just to survive. The other three heroes, they get the backing of the king, they get financial backing, and he doesn't get anything. He has to make it as much as he can on his own. So he is still bound and determined to get himself to a good place where he can actually be of use, but he can only do so much because all he has is a shield. Now, this shield can do some pretty actually amazing things as he starts learning about and being able to level it up. He actually can take material and put it into the shield and have the shield do things for him kind of thing. Mm-hmm. I think he ended up taking a bit of rope, and the shield absorbed it, and then it became like rope itself, where he could actually use it in that fashion.
Okay.
And then at one point he actually put medical herbs inside of it, and then he gained knowledge of how to actually create medicine kind of thing.
Okay.
So there are things he can do with it, but he eventually, I guess, a little bit later on, he ends up kind of getting in contact with a slave trader. Um, yeah, well, and the reason why this actually becomes kind of a good thing is that you end up finding out slaves in this world cannot disobey their master at all. They're like bound by a curse.
Mm-hmm.
So that becomes the only way he can trust somebody because they're
Okay.
bound and they have to register, do whatever he says, kind of thing. Otherwise, they're given like an immense amount of pain and stuff like that, and they can't lie to him, basically. Mm-hmm. And so he kind of takes this half demi-human under his wing, helps her out, and she becomes his sword. So they become kind of like a dynamic duo where he's the defender, she's the offense.
Okay.
So he can still manage and do things. And even though she'll get the kill, he'll still get experience and level up from that.
Okay.
So it becomes an interesting dynamic. And like in the episode I watched, the last episode I watched, the first of many waves apparently hit finally. And he had the option of going into this forest to go help the other heroes to take out all the monsters or whatever. But
good luck, guys.
At the same time, there was a town nearby. And he knew that the monsters were going to attack that town too.
Mm-hmm.
So the other heroes were concentrated in the forest. He went to go help the town. And because he did that, the people in the town were actually grateful towards him.
Yes.
So there's some interesting dynamics going on here. I like the fact that they gave the main character that you're following a reason to hate being where he was at and hate the people around him. And yet, even though he has all the reason in the world to hate the people around him, he still does the right thing.
Yeah.
You know? So that to me speaks loads about his character.
Mm-hmm.
You know? And, even though she doesn't, the girl that he's with, his sword, doesn't know about what happened to him. She follows him explicitly, and at one point it was really kind of cool. They had taken out a good chunk of the monsters in the area, but there was still some more left. And the knights from the kingdom finally showed up, but they cast like basically a spell that pretty much decimated a circle area around an entire area where he was at, but he shielded from it. And he shielded the girl too, and he made the comment of these guys didn't even care that we were in the line of fire. They just did it anyways. And she got mad and attacked the knights. And that was one of those instances you're like, oh, because she said she demanded an answer from them as to why they did that, and depending upon what their answer was, she was going to have their heads.
Wow.
And I was like, damn. Like, damn. So, like, he hasn't revealed kind of what happened to him initially and why people give him kind of the bad stigma that he has. But I don't know. I feel like even if he does, she has seen and knows of him so much at this point that she probably won't believe it. So, and I'm kind of curious too, if that's the way she reacts to that. She's already met the other heroes.
Oh,
I'm like,
that's gonna be good.
Is she gonna get pissed off and be like, "Are you serious?" And then like go after her? And
yes.
I'm like, man, that could I'm curious to see how this is gonna go, because it could go any number of different ways. But character development wise is awesome. Mm-hmm. I like each of the characters, and the characters that you're supposed to hate, I absolutely hate. And even though he has had such a mixture of emotions and things that happened to him, like the coldness in his character, I can still appreciate because there's reasoning for it. He has good enough reasoning to where, even the blacksmith and the weapons, the armor that he goes to all the time, made the comment of, I don't know if it was because of our world that he's become this way, or just because of the things that he's had to do. And I'm like, you know what? That's a good point. That's a very good point. Totally agree with that. Storyline, I'm on board. They haven't divulged like the reasoning why these waves occur or how many waves there are going to be before it's finally done. Because they have said that, well, once you're done defeating all the waves, you can go back to your own hometown or your own home world or whatever. But they don't give like a clear when that's going to be kind of thing.
Okay.
And so I'm kind of curious almost if like, is there a stopping point to it, or does this just keep happening kind of thing and you're just not telling them kind of thing? You know? And yeah, the looks of it are just absolutely amazing. The actual, like when she had her fight sequence, when she was in that town fighting all those guys, you know, she's the weapon, she's the sword, so she's the one killing them all. And, you know, he's the dynamic between the two of them, they work well together. You can tell the amount of time and effort they put into training together to, you know, he blocks the blows coming at her. She's the one who's then going around to him and killing whatever is coming at him. And it's just, and the choreography between that, like at one point you see like she's moving and one of the monsters tries to like spear her, but she dances around the spear. And like you see where the spear could have hit her head, but instead it goes through her hair, and then she ends up like beheading the monster behind it, kind of thing. And I'm like, y'all did this really well. Like the looks and the choreography are just spot on.
Okay.
You couldn't ask for anything more on that. All 2D, no 3D, thank God. And yeah, no, I'm this almost to me kind of ranks right up there with Slime currently.
Okay.
So I'm loving everything about it. You know, even Kai's interactions, because okay, so like even his stigma, and I'll say this is kind of one of my favorite parts. The stigma that went around him. So you see one of the guys taking a balloon monster, because originally that's what he was defeating just to gain some experience and levels. But you see someone else come up to a merchant and go, "How much for this?" And the guy's like, "Well, I can give you 1 copper piece for the fragment that you collected." He's like, "Okay." So then the hero comes up later, just after that, and brings out like a ball of like fragments from this, and he goes, "How much for this?" And he's like, "Well, for all of it, I'll give you one copper piece." And he's like, "Really? You just gave that guy 1 copper piece just for 1 fragment?" And he goes, "Well, with, you know, current he tries to make excuses for it and everything like that. And he goes, tell you what." And he grabs him. And the thing is that since he has that shield, he's dull to pain. Like pain really doesn't affect him because the shield numbs it basically. And he had one of the balloon monsters under his cloak alive. And he's like, let me tell you about that. And he pulls him under his cloak, right in his head under the cloak. And I'm like, he's like, "What are you doing? Stop it! No, get it away from me!" And he's all freaking out and everything. And then he pulls him back out and he goes, "Now, how much was that again?" He's like, fine, I'll give you 1 for each. He's like, "I just want a fair trade. That's all I want." I'm like, you know what, dude? Hats off to you. Hats off to you. You knew some shit like that was going to happen, and you planned for it. I'm like, bravo, dude. Bravo.
Nice.
Absolutely. I totally, even though that was kind of a bad thing to do, more or less, you put your foot down and you said, "You know what? I ain't having any of that." So I'm all about that. It was an unexpected, funny, and well-deserved moment, I feel.
Okay. So I guess I don't have to ask, but are you going to continue the show? Does it need anything?
Absolutely, I'm continuing the show, and no, it does not need anything at all.
I was tempted to watch this one. I normally I go through and watch an episode of anything, even if it's not one of my genres, just so I can find a surprise. Be like, "Oh, that was actually really good," kind of like the like Slime and like Goblin Slayer. Like those are fantasy. Those aren't my genre, but those are two really good shows. So I was about to try this one, but I ran out of time. So I may pick this one up to see if I like it too.
Well, and the first episode is actually an extended episode.
Okay.
It's 45 minutes long.
Yeah. Okay.
So, but I get it. It's like, by the time you finish it, you're like, okay, there's a reason behind that, because you're like, you couldn't fit everything you wanted to do in just one episode like that. But that's all like starting stuff.
Yeah.
Like that's all like beginning storyline. So I get the reason why you didn't like go, well, let's end it here and then we'll pick it up on the next episode. Like, no. That's all starting stuff. You wanted to get all that out of the way.
Yeah.
Because they do kind of do a little bit of time jump as well. Because like by episode 3, because like in episode 1, they're like there's 28 days until the first wave occurs.
Uh-huh.
And then by episode 3, halfway through, you're already on the first wave.
Okay.
So there's a bit of a time jump. But I get it. It didn't feel like jolted or anything. It's just like, well, that's just the way it was. It was nice by the fact that they didn't go like, well, this is all training stuff, and we're just gonna like montage it. It's like, no, just skip it.
Yeah.
I don't need to see it. I know he's gonna work himself up.
Mm-hmm.
You know, the important details that occur in the storyline, which is kind of just development of him and the girl that he's with. You see that. Everything else, don't need to see it.
Okay. Cool.
You just get like that pop up of like, well, he was level 1 here. Now by the time he's here, he's level 18. You're like, all right, well, he fought some things, he got some materials, and he's doing relatively okay for himself, kind of thing.
Cool.
I'm just waiting for that time frame later on where like all the other 3 heroes are always saying some crap about him. I'm like, you know what? I'm waiting for the time frame where they're gonna need his help.
Because the girl turned on them too.
Yeah, I'm gonna be like, I want that time frame when they're gonna be like, they couldn't do that without him.
Yeah.
Because I just want to rub it in their damn faces.
All right. That's it for that one. Let's see, the next show we're going to be talking about is Slime.
Yes. Are you current on this?
No, I wasn't going to touch it till the end.
Okay. It's just some of the things I think that we were touching on have come to pass.
Okay.
They were like, well, we're speculating that this person that did this, and then this person. And we're like, yep, that's exactly what happened. The character development with the ogre, especially the red-haired guy, has progressed even further.
Okay.
He's moved away from the hot-headed, I can do everything myself, and I'm going to take charge and revenge and yada yada yada, and he actually grew up, I guess, essentially.
Nice.
So I'm liking that aspect. You at this point in the story, you have met now the pink-haired girl on the upper left.
I was wondering about her.
Yeah, she's a demon.
Okay.
She's a demon lord, and apparently, out of all the demon lords, she's the most powerful.
Of course.
Just in pure power and strength. Not mentally, she's the weakest. Because just as she looks, she's a kid.
Yeah.
She's a little kid.
Yeah.
But power-wise, she's top tier. No one can actually beat her.
Yeah. Don't they say that about like baby cobras? Baby cobras are the most dangerous because they don't know how to control their power.
Yeah. Well, she knows how to control her power. She can control that. But she still has the mentality of a kid.
Okay.
And then it's hilarious when they meet, because even his Alexa, when they're first meet, she looks at him, or he's approaching her after the ogres had tried to do their thing and failed, Like they each tried to take her out, and even combined, they still weren't enough. And he asked her, he's like, "Well, how powerful is she?" And his Alexa goes, "She has about 10 times the amount of magicals that you have."
Oh.
And we're like, "Wow, power wise, that's not going to work." So, uh,
Nice.
but yeah, I think at this point in time, he is now creating his nation. So he's actually combining all the monsters together and all the people and all the forest. He's got the lizard men, he's got the orcs, he's got the ogres, he's got the dryads, he's got the goblins, he's got everybody. And he's kind of bringing them all together. So at this point now, the demon lords are now focused on him.
Okay.
They're like, okay, he's the one to take out. He's the threat. So, but it's funny too, though, is that apparently I didn't kind of think about this. In the very start of the series, his job, he was actually a contractor. So he knew about like buildings, stuff like that, and that's why, like at this point, he's actually introduced like Japanese like they have aqueducts now, roads. He has a bathhouse now, like all this stuff, and you're like, all right, we've kind of put Japanese culture just introduced into this whole thing. Sure, why not? You know, but it's still just the same, still funny, still interesting, still entertaining, and I'm curious to see where we're gonna lead into this, where it's gonna finally end up. Because now they've introduced somebody who's potentially more powerful than Rimuru.
Oh.
So I don't know, and I don't know if his predator skill is necessarily going to work on her. So we'll see.
Nice.
So it's nice to when you have that moment of you've had this character who's been so overpowered the entire time, and now there's a potential they're not quite the top dog. So.
And it's not like a repetitive thing over and over where it's like, oh, he's the weak guy. Oh, now he beat a strong person, so he gained some strength. And now he's weak again compared to these next group of people.
Yeah.
It's cool that he's been the strongest basically for this whole time until now. So I like that.
I will say, and I know I saw a reactor who made a comment on this, and I kind of felt like they missed the point. So when he defeats the Orc Lord, the thing is that they make the comment going, they're like, well, he used Predator, but it took him longer than all the other times he's used Predator to actually do the thing he needed to do. And I'm looking at it going, no, he didn't use Predator. You're forgetting what a slime does. And the basis of things, as a monster, what does a slime do? It dissolves matter.
Yeah.
Slimes dissolve matter. That may look like Predator, but at the end of the day, what he did to the Orc Lord was just be a slime. He actually just dissolved the Orc Lord. And that's why there was like an issue whether or not between if he said, are you going to consume me or am I going to consume you first? Because there was a real possibility of that he just managed to get the upper hand, but he never actually used Predator. So he didn't gain any of the abilities that the Orc Lord had. He just basically dissolved the Orc Lord.
Okay.
So I just want to make sure that annoyed me when I saw that from a reactor about that when they were watching it, and they're like, "Man, his Predator skill is taking a while." I was like, "No, he's not using Predator. He's actually just being a slime for once."
Okay.
Just doing what basic slimes do, dissolving things. So, because you actually see, like, he actually dissolves them down to, like, bone. Because you'll see his, like, the skin disappears, then the meat disappears, and then it's just bone, and then the bone disappears on his face.
Okay.
I'm like, he went all the way down completely. But all in all, great show. I love it. I'm always this is like right now for me, 2 shows currently going on. The Shield and Slime. I'm always hyped about seeing the minute the episodes come out. So cannot wait to see how this is going to go, and I'm probably just going to be disappointed in the fact that it's going to end at some point.
Yeah.
Oh, come on, really? So.
Yeah, I have 3 older shows to catch up on.
Mm-hmm.
And I think now that I'm probably going to trim down my list to just a few, I think I can actually get them done. Maybe.
Maybe.
But yeah, we shall see. The next and the last show we're going to be talking about today is Yakuzoku no Neverland, or The Promised Neverland.
Oh, boy. I made a comment on this. I watched the cat show first. Then I watched this show. And goddamn do I wish I'd have watched that in reverse order. I so wish I had to watch that in reverse order. I needed something happy after watching Neverland. Because that... it's like when they cry. To me, it's like when they cry. Because they're like, let's show this happy moment. Kids getting up. We're getting ready to eat. We're helping each other. We're having a good time. Oh, aren't you adorable? You got food on your cheek. You know, we're getting that extra sweet moment. Not to say there weren't little hints that something else was going on.
Yeah.
One being the fact that each of these kids has numbers tattooed on them.
Yeah.
That's one part where you look at and go, that's not quite right. I mean, this could be an orphanage, and maybe they want to make sure they have accurate counts because there's a lot of kids going around here, but that still seems kind of wrong.
Yeah.
Then their whole testing thing, I'm like, I guess you're wanting to really, I mean, maybe these are geniuses. I don't know. Maybe this is like a genius camp when everyone has really good grades, and that I'm like, okay, still a little weird, but we'll go with it. And then the whole, this zone is forbidden. You cannot go into this area. Stay away from this area. And I'm like, there's something going on with this, but I still didn't know to what extent.
Yeah.
And then I'm looking at it going, because they made the comment, the kids made the comment of, once you reach a certain age, you go into that forbidden zone. And I'm like, okay, so it's an age thing.
Yeah.
It's an age thing. That's interesting. But then the fact that the little girl who wasn't of age ended up having to go. And I'm like,
I was for sure that the 3 older boys was going to be next.
Yeah, I'm like, well, you introduced these 3 as the eldest. Why aren't they going? What's the deal? Why did the little girl go? And then they do the reveal.
Yeah.
And, you know, then I see the teddy bear, and they're like, we need to go give this to her. And I'm like, oh God.
I was like, no, just leave it.
No,
just leave it. I'm scared. Don't go.
Yeah, no. Come on, I already have weird vibes. Let's not do this. Let's not do this right now. And then that reveal happened, and I'm like, oh, why? What is that?
So, one thing I kind of want to do with this one, because it is such a big reveal. Let's push the details for that towards the end. Let's talk about what we've had so far, and then put a big spoiler wall.
No kidding.
And then we go to it. So how you've only seen the first episode?
Yeah, I just seen the first episode.
Okay, me too.
I wasn't sure I could bring myself at that moment to watch the next one just because of how that. Okay, okay. I hate to say it, but I'm the kind of guy. I played BioShock, and one thing I was never able to do was to sacrifice the little girls to gain more Adam in there. They give you every reason to do it, but I could never bring myself to do it. So when that ending occurred, that's why it hit me like a freaking Mack truck. And I'm like, no! Out of everything that could be.
Yeah.
So I'll just that's what I was saying about that. I'm like, that was such a blow to the freaking head.
So out of the like how they developed the character so far, like what do you think?
About the characters?
So the redhead, he's like they basically like explained all their tropes. They're like, this is the smart guy, but he's not the strongest. This is the strong guy, but he's not the smartest. And then here's the tactician. So out of them, I'm like, yeah, they kind of like verbally described all the characters, and that's kind of what I have to say about them. We have a tactician, we have a strong guy, and we have a really smart guy.
Yeah, I mean, out of the first episode, they really don't give you a lot of context, I feel. But I think that's just because they wanted everything to come out of left field so much that I don't think that we're really going to get that character development until the next couple episodes.
Yeah. So, because of what happened at the end, and now we got to go.
Yeah.
Is everybody going?
Well,
I would think definitely don't leave anybody behind.
Well, that's what they're going to try to do. That's what they said they're going to try to do. But here's the hitch in that plan. Mama knows.
Yeah.
Mama knows something's up.
Mama scared the crap out of me when they cut back to her.
Yeah.
Devastated and angry.
I have never seen, and especially in an anime, that range of emotions on somebody.
Yeah.
Like, there was so much going on there, and I'm like, that's why that feeling of dread when I saw that just washed over me, just thinking, Mama knows. Mama knows. Mama knows, and that's not good. That is so far not good. Because at first, when they get back and they're like, okay, here's the plan. We're going to get the hell out of here. And I'm like, yes.
Yeah.
You're going to get the hell out of there. Trust me. That's not where you want to be. Get the hell out of there. And then they cut back to Mama, and I'm like, crap. That's a big roadblock that you just encountered. Because before, you had free reign to traverse anywhere in the area that you could go to. Like, you were playing hide and seek, and Mama wasn't nowhere to be found.
Yeah.
Like, they didn't, not to say maybe she wasn't watching, but just to say she wasn't directly involved.
Yeah.
Now that she knows that there's something up, we might see more involvement with Mama, which might make that harder for them to be able to do that.
Yeah. And we saw 1 or 2 adults, right? 1?
3, I think.
Okay.
It's 3.
And it was.
How are you referring? You're referring to adults in the very loose term. I'm taking it.
Oh, there was the mama, and then there was the mama with dreads, and then was the guy there too? The older guy, like the first three people in the top picture.
Honestly, I didn't see the mama with dreads. All I remember seeing was Mama.
Okay.
The rest of these are kids.
Wait.
Yeah, every single one of those is kids.
So only the two people in the maid outfit.
Yeah, those are the only adults, which I use that term loosely because that scares the hell out of me.
Okay. So where's the other mama?
That's true. Well, here's the thing. That might be the reason why how episode 1 ended the way it did might be the reason why the other mama shows up. They're like, hey, we think that we need to have more help around here, so we're going to have her come in. But in reality, they're just wanting to keep a closer eye on the kids.
Okay. So basically we only saw one, like I get what you're saying now. So,
yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
So basically at the beginning, we only saw one adult.
Yep.
Yeah. And now, so one thing that was also kind of like, something's kind of weird is like, everybody had these super cheesy grins on. And I'm like, how real are these grins? I was like, something's up. Mm-hmm. Because of what we read in the synopsis. I was like, this show is too happy. Everybody got barcodes on their necks. They're like, ha ha ha, let's eat breakfast, guys. Ha ha ha. And I'm like, something's off. And you look at you look at Mama, and she's like, hello, children.
Yeah.
She has that grin from like Jormungand.
Mm-hmm.
Of like, I'm like, she's crazy. She has that crazy person grin.
Now here's the flip side of that. Is Mama one of the quote unquote other adults?
That's what
just not. Is she in disguise? Maybe?
I kind of wish. I hope she's actually just an adult.
Okay. Because it concerns me that the whole age thing.
Like,
they reach a certain age.
If not, I'd be kind of disappointed because that would kill a certain hierarchy.
Mm-hmm.
Like, it would be the kids and then the adults,
and then those things.
That's the way I want it. I want the kids, the adults, and then things. I don't want kids in things because then that like, I don't know, that kills like levels. So
no, I guess I could see that, and honestly, that would almost make sense. They're like, hey, we need to have an actual factual like adult here taking care of these kids, so that way it keeps the peace.
Yeah.
So they don't get curious. So looking at it though, okay, so the girl in the middle, we know she has an idea or she's the one who saw what was going on. Same with the white-haired kid to her left. Yeah. Now the black-haired kid, he didn't see, but from their reactions when they got back, he knows something's up.
Yeah.
Because he's the smart one.
Yeah.
He knows something's up.
Yeah.
So, yeah, I'm just kind of curious how the rest of them are going to take it.
Yeah, didn't they have there was an older picture, or is the current picture different now on any chart?
That I don't know.
Yeah, I'm checking it out because there's another picture that like the one girl with the pigtails has like a different, like, she has the grin of like, oh, I'm about to mess some stuff up kind of grin, and I can't remember.
They do have a different picture on any chart or any list.
Yeah. Oh, not that picture either. There was another picture where, like, I think the girl had like her hand in a fist or something, and like she was about to like mess something up. I can't remember, but yeah, I'm not sure.
I'm not sure either. This show has me so topsy-turvy and just all over the place. And I don't think never have I really felt such dread, especially for like kids in any form of media, than I do for this show.
Yeah.
I'm just like, oh God, no, please. Like, if I'm okay, you already know. I've already said this before. I'm the kind of guy who roots for the underdogs.
Yeah.
Like I've always found myself doing that. Immediately with these kids, I'm like, you can do this. I don't even care what you got to do. You do this, because no.
Underdog cannot be more fitting in any other show than this one.
Yeah, I'm like, that was all wrong. That was, what was that? Oh, I think it was a Markiplier who was I think one of his videos. He was like, everything is horrible. Everything is wrong. This is just bad. I'm like, yep, no, that is exactly my thought on this whole thing. I'm like, this is rough. This is all sorts of rough.
So, does this show need more any ketchup? Are you going to continue it? I could not watch this show even if I tried.
I was about to say, we might not want to use that terminology for this show. I'm just saying, we might want to think of a different terminology in regards to this. Because I'm gonna say no, just out of habit in that regard. No ketchup, please. Please, no ketchup. But yeah, no, I feel like I want to have something happy to watch afterwards. That's all I feel like I need to do. I don't think it needs ketchup. I'm gonna try my darnest to watch it, because I worry about the kids. But yeah, no.
All right. So now here comes the spoiler section.
Spoilers!
Spoilers! You have been warned.
You don't want it.
Don't listen to this part. Go watch it. Go watch it and come back.
Yeah, go watch it, come back. Because we don't want to spoil this happening, because oh my.
We'll want that to be a surprise.
Yeah.
All right.
Oh my God. That it felt horrible.
What are they doing?
It really felt horrible. I knew when she got to that wagon and uncovered, I was like, oh, this is gonna be bad. Because like the look on her face, I'm like, oh, this is gonna be bad. This is gonna be bad.
Pile of arms and legs.
And then the kid, the boy walks around and sees, and I'm like, oh, and they show it, and I'm like, oh, she's just dead. She's just straight up, she's just dead. And I think she had a horrified look on her face too.
Like she had been pickled or something.
Yeah. Oh man, it was rough. That was rough. Like I expected something bad, but that was definitely up there.
And then
the
things show up.
Weird monsters.
And I'm like, oh.
Yeah. And then they're like, you can't eat her now. And I'm like, that's what you do? That's what you do.
So the house is just your refrigerator?
Basically. It's a farm.
And I was like, oh. And then, of course, they always do the whole thing where they're like, I smelled the blood of an Englishman.
Yeah.
And then they check under the thing, and I'm like, okay, good. Wait a minute. There's nowhere to go.
Yeah, yeah. And then the teddy bear was there.
Yeah.
I was like, oh. Because the monsters didn't know what that meant.
Yeah.
But Mama knew what that meant.
And then they cut back to Mama.
Yeah. I don't know. It's just with that range of emotion on her face, it was the only reason why I said that she might not be human. Just that look and that range of emotion, because nobody else has that range of emotion.
Yeah.
But I don't know. I think you're probably right. She probably is still human.
And she's like, if I don't get this under control, I'm gonna be next.
Yeah.
For sure.
Yeah.
So.
Oh, I just want to know what this world is. What is this world?
Best first episode of the year, hands down.
Well, this is only the beginning of the year, so I mean, I guess you can make that claim.
Stop it! I dare you.
But still, I'm like, now I'm just curious. What the hell is this world like?
Yeah.
Like, are they going to escape and it's just going to be worse?
Is this like the Matrix, where you're like, oh, it was better on the farm. I just hope my number doesn't come up.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Because like, are they going to escape and then the whole world is just filled with those monsters?
Yeah.
Is that what this is? And they're just kids, so how are they going to survive on their own? You know? Honestly, I feel like that's going to be the case. I feel like the world itself is going to be horrible. Like, they're going to potentially, like, one of them is potentially going to end up escaping, and it's going to make it's going to be that way. Because think of the foreshadowing. In this first episode, what happened? The kids all sat around and said, what are you going to do when you get out? And they all thought of these grandiose things. So many wonderful, wonderful things. And it's all going to be a lie. It's all going to be fake. And I see this too. Now that you mentioned that with Mama, here's the other thing. I guarantee you, it's almost seemed I'm almost 99% certain Mama's gonna die, and the orange-haired girl is gonna be the new Mama. Because what did she say when she was asked what she wanted to do when she left? She said, I don't want to leave. I want to be here with everybody forever. She's going to survive, and she's going to be the new Mama.
Where are these kids coming from?
That's a good question. That's a good question, too. I think I don't want to know the answer, even though I think they're going to give us the answer.
What was Mama doing before she became Mama?
Mm-hmm.
Is she no longer? No. No. I want to find out.
Well, I mean, it's not to say that we're right on this. There's just a lot of speculation, and I don't know. I almost want to speculate just so that way when it gets revealed, I'm not nearly as shocked, because I think that might be too much of a decimation for me. Because I saw where your train of thought was going on that. If this is where the kids are at, where are the adults? If this world is completely ruled by these monsters, as we're speculating it is, and if people like Mama can't do anything about it, and they're just trapped in this, yeah. That's a strong possibility.
Yeah. I am the most intrigued by this show.
And horrified.
But yeah, I am horrified, and I this is exactly what you call morbid curiosity.
Mm-hmm.
I have to know what's going on, but I don't want to see it.
I mean, there's a reason why this is labeled as mystery, psychological, supernatural, thriller, horror.
Yeah.
There's a reason.
So.
The thing is, too, here's the really big thing. This is only 12 episodes.
Yeah.
This show is only 12 episodes. Can you imagine how they're going to have to expedite this? It's going to hit you hard and fast. Guarantee you.
Yeah.
It is just going to hit you hard and fast. At least for the Shield one, it's 25 episodes.
Oh, that's going to be good.
So they'll be able to expand on it and really take their time. Boogie Bop's 18 episodes.
What?
Yeah. Boogie Bop's 18 episodes. And see, the Roommate's Cat one's only 12, which that makes sense.
18 means like we know exactly what we want to say.
Yeah. Apparently, your domestic girlfriend one, they don't have a number of episodes on that one.
I want to say 12.
12?
Yeah. It's something like the whole. Right, so that's it for the shows. We're going to start reviewing the rest of the season. Yeah, I would say 12 because it's kind of a premise that's been done before. It's just this has a pretty interesting twist to it.
Mm-hmm.
And the ages of the characters are different, so I like that. But yeah, I don't see it going past 12. If it goes past 12, then I'm like, oh, I'm gonna be hooked.
Mm-hmm.
Because that means that they're gonna make these characters really, really good. Because they have all the time they need.
Hey, your airplane one's only 12 episodes.
Too bad I won't be seeing them.
Yeah. I would say the only show that I'm really disappointed I haven't seen yet, and I think I want to because I've been hearing a lot of stuff about it.
Mob Psycho 200.
No. Is Dororo.
Where is that one?
I don't know, but I've been seeing a lot of people saying some pretty good things about it. No, see, I wouldn't want to watch Mob Psycho until I've watched the first season, and I haven't watched the first season.
Yeah, I think those are the only two shows because we had talked about Dororo on.
Yeah, because it's a throwback to a really, really, really old anime and manga. Like this thing was like hugely old, which I'm surprised that someone picked it up to remake it. So I guess that after that long a period of time, you could probably do something probably quite a bit more amazing with it than what happened during that old time it was originally produced.
Yeah. I'm trying to. Excuse me. I'm trying to look around to see
where Dororo's at.
Yeah.
Well, I know it's not on Crunchyroll.
Yeah, normally whenever a show is missing like that, it's probably like on Netflix, and you won't be able to watch any of the episodes until the entire thing is done. So.
Actually, I just found it.
Where?
Amazon.
Oh, of course.
Amazon has it. I just thought about it. Well, at least they're doing it episodic, so. Well, I guess I'll have to watch it on that. God damn it. At least I have Prime, so.
Yeah.
Yeah, everyone who's been reviewing it so far, at least on Amazon, has given it like really high scores. There's only one. Oh, one person made a comment saying that I guess they didn't have subtitles on it when they first released it.
Oh, that's silly.
Which they gave it a 1 star because of that. And so did the other person who gave it a 1 star. Everyone else has given it 4 or 5. So.
Yep. 3 episodes in. Okay. I hate that there's no simulcast section in Amazon.
Yeah.
Because then I can be like, oh, did Amazon grab anything? No? Okay. there was one guy that I used to go to his website, and he would show like where
things were at.
Yeah, where things are at. And this last month he didn't do it, so I think I might take it over because I need to know.
No, absolutely. I would appreciate that.
So
because I need to know too, especially when I hate the fact that we talk about some of these coming out, and then we never do anything with them because we can never find them.
Yeah.
So I'd be interested in that.
Yeah, I just need to like for Amazon. I just need to like for Netflix. They maybe I can get it from Anime News Network or something like that because they were like, oh, this show is produced by Netflix, and I'd be like, cool. We will never talk about it on the show because they don't do it. But then for the Amazon stuff, they do stuff weekly. They just dump it in the pile of everything else they have, and I'm like, I'm looking for one thing. Seasonal anime. Where is it? They're like, it's over there somewhere. And then everywhere else.
Take like 3 shelves down. Just kind of look around in that section over there. Yeah, you're fine.
Yeah. That's all where the new stuff is. It may be there, it may not. We don't know.
Yeah.
And it's like, Funimation, they have, here are simuldubs and simulcasts. Crunchyroll, here's a whole page dedicated to simulcast. Yep. High Dive, the new guys, they're like, oh, that's what everybody does. We'll do the same thing so you can find it. So eventually I'm gonna get that started, or at least find a solution for it, so then I can talk about it on the show. Or I don't know. I want to, like I would love to have been able to talk about Dororo because it's one of those classic shows being brought back.
Like I said, I've seen a lot of people talking about it too. So
all right. We will be back in a month. What's the date?
It's in February, so it's going to be pretty short. 24th?
Yep. So that is 1, 2, 3, 4 weeks from now. We'll be back in 4 weeks on the 24th to talk about
upcoming.
Yeah.
God, that's already so quick. I feel like.
Oh my God. Should we take a peek?
I mean, I'm going to. I don't know about you, but I'm already like, yeah, what's going on?
All right. One Punch Man.
Yep.
All right. Go Stray Dogs again.
Yeah.
All right. Attack on
wait.
Titan.
Yeah, I was about to say, right in the very center of that, Attack on Titan.
All right. Fruits Basket. What?
Wait, Fruits Basket?
Yeah. Okay. Fox Girl. Okay.
Yeah, Fox Girl. Yeah. Blue-haired girl. Yeah, on a moped. Yeah.
Strike Witches. Okay. I'm never going to catch up on that. Somebody's on fire, I think.
Good. Yeah.
So that may be good for Psycho.
Chokado, some weird model of a girl. Yeah. Okay. Yeah.
Yeah, all the good stuff's up the top.
Yeah. I kind of feel like. Well, you know, those are just the big shows that we know about. So
yeah, 2 really big shows, a 3rd season of another show, an old show that's coming back from the past.
I think it's just a matter of. I mean, we'll do it obviously on our review, our initial thoughts, but
yeah, I need me some trailers.
Yeah.
Oh, Chihaya Furu. That's another 3rd. That's a 3rd season.
God dang it! Why is Silverlink coming out with another fantasy? Stop it! Just stop it. I don't like your original ones, and I'm probably not gonna like this one either. But I'm still probably gonna watch it because it's freaking fantasy, guys. Stop doing those.
Okay, so this next season's already better than this season. Cool.
See, I don't want to say that. I don't want to say that because we had Attack on Titan season 2, and it was kind of meh.
Did you
right?
catch up on that?
I have not. I will catch up on it.
Okay.
Don't you worry. I will catch up on it. But I'm just looking at it going, I want to say, yay, Attack on Titan season 3.
4.
4? Oh, yeah, because yeah. So, season 4, but I'm like, And then you got One Punch Man, which I'm also very hyped about.
But it's
Except
not
it's
Madhouse.
not Madhouse. So I'm a little concerned. So yeah.
Maybe I'll watch Bungo Stray Dogs.
See, I'm current on that, so I'm good on that. So I don't know. I feel like this is going to be the season of like, oh, this hype, yeah, this is really hype, but then you're like, but it's not. It's just too much hype.
Mm-hmm.
So we'll see.
All right. Well, that's it for today. Got our 8 shows that we started. We will catch y'all in 4 weeks. So this is Big D and Shade from TacoYaki Anime. And I'd like to thank y'all for watching. Thanks for hanging out in chat. Thanks for supporting the channel any way that you do. And we will see y'all next time.